I've been buying televisions since the early 90s, and I remember when a good TV would set you back $3,000 and last you 15 years without a single problem. These days, I walk past the electronics section and see 75-inch screens for under $1,000, and honestly, it makes me stop and wonder what's really going on. Are we getting incredible deals, or is there something we need to understand before we pull out our wallets? Before we dive into what's happening with TV prices in 2026, I appreciate it if you'd take a second to subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button if you find this helpful, and I really want to hear from you in the comments. Which TV are you using right now, and what problems are you facing with it? Is it the smart features that stopped working, the picture quality not holding up, or maybe you're just trying to figure out if it's time to upgrade? Drop a comment and let's talk about it. And stick around, because I've put together a detailed comparison chart and some specific model recommendations. The link is in the description, so make sure to check that out after we're done here. Understanding why TV prices are falling. Let me paint you a picture of what's happening in the television market right now, because it's not as simple as just good sales. I've watched this industry change over 30 years, and 2026 is turning out to be a particularly interesting moment. The prices we're seeing aren't the result of any single event or some secret strategy by retailers. It's actually a combination of several factors that have all come together at once. First, there's a simple supply and demand issue. Manufacturers ramped up production over the past couple of years, expecting people to upgrade their TVs regularly, maybe every 2 or 3 years. But that's not what happened. People are holding on to their televisions longer now, sometimes 5 or 6 years or more, especially if they bought a decent set to begin with. When you've got warehouses full of inventory and customers who aren't rushing to buy, prices have to come down. It's basic economics, nothing more complicated than that. Second, and this is important to understand, the technology that used to be considered premium is now being mass-produced at a scale we've never seen before. Mini LED technology, which creates better contrast and brighter pictures than traditional LED screens, used to be reserved for high-end models. Now companies like TCL and Hisense are building mini LED sets that sell for a fraction of what Sony or Samsung charged just 2 years ago. When more manufacturers can produce the same technology, competition drives prices down. That's good for us as buyers, but it also means we need to pay attention to what we're actually getting. Third, we're in that awkward time of year when last year's models need to make room for this year's lineup. CES, the big electronics show, happened in early January, and manufacturers showed off their 2026 models. Retailers need to clear out the 2025 stock to make shelf space and warehouse space for the new arrivals. January and February have always been good months for TV deals because of this cycle, but this year, the discounts are particularly aggressive. The technology shift you need to know about. Now let's talk about what's actually changed in television technology, because this matters when you're trying to decide if a deal is worth taking. I remember when plasma screens were the thing everyone wanted, then it was LCD, then LED, and now we're talking about OLED and mini LED and QLED. It could feel overwhelming, and I get that. OLED technology used to be the absolute top of the line. These are the screens where each individual pixel creates its own light, so you get perfect blacks and incredible contrast. 5 years ago, a 65-inch OLED would easily cost you $4,000 or $5,000. In early 2026, you can find quality OLED sets from LG and Samsung under $2,000, sometimes even less during a good sale. That's not because the technology got worse, it's because more factories learned how to produce OLED panels efficiently and competition increased. Mini LED sits in an interesting middle ground. It's not quite OLED, but it's significantly better than the standard LED TVs most of us grew up with. Mini LED uses thousands of tiny LED lights behind the screen to create better contrast and brightness. The key thing to understand is that Mini LED from a budget brand like Hisense won't perform exactly like Mini LED from Sony, even though they're using the same basic technology. The processing, the quality control, the materials around the panel itself, these all vary. This is where doing your research matters. Traditional LED TVs, the basic models, haven't dropped much in price because they were already close to the cost of manufacturing them. When you see a 50-inch TV for $300, that's about as low as it can go without the company losing money on every sale. The big price drops are happening in the mid-range and premium categories. Real examples of what's available. Let me give you some specific examples because numbers make this concrete. I'm looking at actual prices from major retailers as of mid-January 2026, and some of these deals are genuinely remarkable if you know what you're buying. Samsung's S95F, which is their Quantum Dot OLED model, was selling for over $5,000 when it launched. Right now, you can find the 65-inch version for around $1,900 at several retailers. That's a real 42% discount on a TV that reviewers consistently rate as one of the best pictures you can get. It's got the anti-glare screen, high refresh rates for gaming if that matters to you, and colors that look natural and vibrant. Now, is it $1,900? That depends on your budget and what you're using it for, but the point is the price has dropped dramatically. LG's C5 and G5 OLED models, which are their mid to high range offerings, have seen similar cuts. The 65-inch versions were selling for $3,000 and are now going for $1,200 to $1,400. These sets include the gaming features that matter if you've got a PlayStation 5 or Xbox, the WebOS Smart Platform that actually works pretty well, and Dolby Vision for better picture quality on supported content. I've seen these in person, and the picture quality is excellent for movies and streaming. Sony's Bravia 9 and Bravia 7, which use mini LED technology instead of OLED, were priced at $3,000 or more and are now in the $1,200 to $2,300 range for 65-inch models. Sony tends to charge more because their processing is generally considered superior, meaning the TV does a better job of making lower quality content look good. If you watch a lot of cable or older DVDs, that processing matters more than it does if you're only streaming 4K content. Here's where it gets interesting for budget-conscious buyers. TCL's QM7K and QM6K mini LED sets in 75-inch sizes are selling for under $1,000 in many cases. I've seen the 75-inch versions going for $798 to $948. 3 years ago, a 75-inch TV of any quality would have cost you over $2,000. Are these the same quality as Sony or Samsung? No, they're not, but for a lot of people, they're more than good enough. Especially if you're putting it in a family room where it's going to have some ambient light and you're watching regular cable or streaming. Hisense is in a similar boat with their U8K and UBQG models. You can find 75-inch mini LED sets with high brightness and 120 Hz refresh rates for $700 to $900. These are perfectly serviceable TVs that will do what most people need them to do. What to actually consider before buying? Now, this is where experience matters, and I want to share some things I've learned over the years that might save you frustration down the road. Price is important, but it shouldn't be the only thing you look at. First, think about your actual viewing situation. How bright is the room where this TV will live? If you've got windows and a lot of natural light, you need a TV with high brightness levels. OLED looks absolutely stunning in a dark room, but in a bright room, a good mini LED might actually serve you better because they can get brighter. I learned this the hard way with an OLED I put in my sunroom years ago. Beautiful picture at night, but during the day it was hard to see. Second, consider what you're actually watching. If you're streaming mostly Netflix and Disney Plus in 4K, almost any mid-range TV will look great. If you're watching a lot of cable, sports, or older content, you want better processing to upscale that lower quality signal. This is where brands like Sony earn their premium, though LG and Samsung have gotten much better at this too. Third, and this is critical, check the return policy before you buy. Costco has a 90-day return policy on electronics, which gives you plenty of time to live with the TV and see if you're happy with it. Best Buy typically offers 15 days, though that can vary. Amazon can be 30 days, but you need to check the specific listing because third-party sellers might have different policies. Walmart varies by item. If you're spending over $1,000, make sure you have time to return it if something isn't right. Fourth, look at the refresh rate and gaming features only if they matter to you. If you don't play video games, you don't need 120 Hz or VRR or HDMI 2.1. These are gaming-specific features that add cost. A 60 Hz TV will handle movies and shows just fine. Don't pay extra for features you won't use. Fifth, be aware of retailer-specific models. This is something that confuses a lot of people, so let me explain it clearly. Sometimes you'll see a model number at Walmart that you can't find anywhere else, or a Best Buy exclusive version of a TV. This isn't anything shady or illegal. Manufacturers produce slightly different versions of the same basic TV for different retailers. Maybe it's got one less HDMI port, or a different stand design, or a slightly different smart TV interface.
This makes it harder to comparison shop because you can't directly compare model numbers across stores. It's frustrating, but it's been common practice for decades across all kinds of products, not just TVs. The way to handle this is to focus on the specifications rather than the model number. How many HDMI ports? What's the refresh rate? Does it support Dolby Vision? What type of panel technology? These specs should be listed clearly, and they'll help you compare apples to apples, even when the model numbers don't match. Understanding warranty and longevity. Let me talk about something that matters more as you get older and have bought enough electronics to see patterns: warranties and how long these things actually last. The televisions we bought in the 90s and early 2000s lasted a long time, often 10 or 15 years, because they were simpler machines. A tube TV had fewer electronic components to fail. Modern TVs are essentially computers with screens attached. They've got processors, circuit boards, smart features, operating systems that need updates, and all of that creates more potential failure points. Most TVs come with a 1-year manufacturer warranty. Some retailers like Costco extend that with their own coverage, which is one reason to buy from them despite sometimes higher upfront prices. Extended warranties are a personal choice. I generally don't buy them on items under $1,000, but on a premium TV over $2,000, I'll consider it, especially if I can get accident protection that covers things like a cracked screen from a thrown remote or a baseball. Here's my honest assessment based on watching this industry. Budget TVs from brands like TCL and Hisense might last you 5 to 7 years. Mid-range from Samsung or LG, maybe 7 to 10. Premium sets from Sony, potentially 10 or more, though there's no guarantee. The smart features will almost certainly become outdated before the screen fails. The apps will stop getting updates, the interface will feel slow, and you'll probably end up using a Roku or Apple TV box anyway. That's just the reality of connected devices. The best protection is buying from a retailer with a good return policy, being gentle with your equipment, and making sure it has good ventilation so it doesn't overheat. And honestly, at these prices, even if a TV only lasts you 6 or 7 years, you're still getting decent value compared to what we paid for less capable sets 30 years ago. The bigger picture: why shopping feels different now. I want to address something I hear a lot from people in our age group. Shopping for appliances and electronics used to feel simpler, and now it feels like you need a research degree just to buy a TV. That's not your imagination, and you're not wrong to feel that way. When I bought my first big TV back in the mid-90s, there were maybe 5 or 6 brands to choose from, and the main decision was screen size. Now there are dozens of brands, multiple screen technologies, smart platforms, sizes ranging from 32 inches to over 100 inches, and prices from a couple hundred to over $10,000. The variety is overwhelming, even for someone who follows this stuff. Add to that the fact that much of the shopping is moved online, where you can't see the actual picture quality, and you're relying on specifications and reviews from people you don't know. It's understandable that it feels frustrating and sometimes suspicious. But here's the thing I've come to understand. More options and lower prices are generally good for us as consumers, even though they make the decision process harder. The key is to approach it methodically. Decide your budget first. Then decide your size based on your room and viewing distance. Then narrow down the technology based on your room's lighting and what you watch. Then read reviews from sources you trust. I like professional reviewers who actually measure the performance, not just influencers who unbox products. Our Tatings and Consumer Reports have been reliable in my experience. Then check prices across multiple retailers and make sure you understand the return policy before you buy. Yes, it takes more work than walking into a store and pointing at the display model, but that extra work can save you hundreds of dollars and ensure you get something that actually fits your needs. What about buying online versus in-store? This is worth discussing because I know some of you prefer to see things in person before buying, and that's perfectly reasonable. Here's what I've observed. Most major retailers like Best Buy, Walmart, and Target still have TV sections where you can see the displays, though the selection in-store is smaller than what's available online. The in-store models are usually set to torch mode, meaning the brightness and contrast are cranked way up to look good under fluorescent store lights. That's not how it'll look in your home, so even seeing it in person can be misleading. If you want to see a specific model before buying, I'd suggest going to the store to look at it, but don't feel pressured to buy it right there. Take note of how the interface feels, how the remote works, and the general build quality. Then go home, check online prices, read some reviews, and make your decision. Many stores will price match their own online prices if you ask, but not always. Costco and Sam's Club are interesting because they typically have floor models you can see, their prices are competitive, and the return policy is generous. If you're a member, they're worth checking. Just be aware that their selection is limited to maybe a dozen models at any given time. Online-only retailers like Amazon have the widest selection and often the best prices, but you're buying unseen and relying heavily on reviews. Make sure you're buying from Amazon directly or a reputable third-party seller, and check that return policy carefully.
Let me wrap this up with some straightforward advice based on everything we've covered. If you're in the market for a TV in 2026, you're shopping at a good time because prices are genuinely lower than they've been in a while. If your budget is under $1,000 and you want something big, look at the TCL and Hisense mini LED models in the 65 to 75 inch range. They offer remarkable value for the money, and while they're not premium sets, they're far better than what you could get for that price even 2 years ago. If your budget is $1,000 to $2,000, you can get into excellent mid-range OLED or high-end mini LED territory. The LG C5 series and Samsung's mid-range QLEDs are sweet spots right now. You're getting technology that was considered top tier just a couple years ago for half the price. If your budget is over $2,000 and you want the best picture quality, the Samsung S95F OLED or Sony Bravia 9 Mini LED are currently discounted enough to be worth considering. You're paying for better processing, better build quality, and a picture that will impress you every time you use it. For gaming specifically, make sure you get HDMI 2.1 120Hz refresh rate and VRR support. The LG OLEDs and Samsung QLEDs in the mid-range and up all have these features now. Don't forget about sound. Most modern TVs have terrible built-in speakers because the screens are so thin. Budget an extra $100 to $300 for a soundbar if audio quality matters to you. It makes a bigger difference than most people expect. And finally, remember that the best deal is the one that fits your actual needs and budget. Don't stretch yourself financially for features you won't use. A good mid-range TV that you can comfortably afford will bring you more satisfaction than a premium set that stresses your finances. So, I hope this has helped clarify what's happening with TV prices and given you some practical guidance for making a decision that works for you. This isn't about rushing to buy something just because it's on sale. It's about understanding the market, knowing what you need, and making an informed choice when the time is right. Remember to check out the detailed comparison chart and specific model recommendations I've linked in the description below. It breaks down everything we've talked about here, with current prices and where to find them. And please, share your experience in the comments. What TV are you considering? What's holding you back? What questions do you still have? I read every comment, and I'll do my best to help where I can. If this video was helpful, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss future updates, especially as we move through the year and see how these prices continue to change. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.